Okay, my mixture is done. Now it's time for us to add the color. So today we are gonna do it in a dark to light kind of mixture. Oh, my spoon. Okay. We're gonna do it in a dark to light color. So of course, to make the color lighter, you have to add white. To make the color darker, you can add black. But be careful when you're using black. If you put too much, what will happen if you put too much? The whole thing will just turn black color, because black is a very strong color. Let me show you an example of what I mean by a really strong color. So I have a little bit of purple here. Now if I take a lot of black, oh dear, put so much black, it turned the whole thing black, because black is way too strong. So make sure to just put tiny little bit if you want to turn it darker. If you want your ice cream to go lighter, we'll just use white. But we are going to start with the first layer first. We're going to start with the first layer, which is the darkest one, and then it will slowly add white to make it go lighter and lighter and lighter. Okay, I forgot to mention that you can actually separate your mixture into different containers, which you'll see what I do later on, because I find that I have a bit too much mixture for what I'm gonna do later on. So I'll prepare my colors first. You can pour it inside here, or I'll just pour it straight away. Now my paint is a little bit dry, so I have to stir it a little bit. If your paint is wet, then you can just pour it in. Not too much, just enough. Just a little bit. Actually, you know what? I think my mixture is a bit too much. So I'm gonna scoop some over here to save it for later. Okay, that's enough for later. Clean up the mess here. Okay, and then you stir. Wow, look at that color. Isn't it gorgeous? Just little by little, we're going to do the first layer. Now if when you're pouring the paint you feel that it's flooding the whole piece of paper, that means that your mixture is way too wet. Then maybe add a bit more flour and a bit more salt to dry it up a little bit, so that it doesn't flood around, because you still need to move this artwork outside to dry it later on. Do down a little bit. You can form like a tiny ball up here. There, our first layer. So for the second layer, just add white. This aside. I'm gonna add a bit more. And see what happens when I stir it. Wow! It becomes lighter, right? There, see, now that I have the lighter color, I can just pour it inside. Same thing, just pour it like a tiny little ball. Can have some drilling down here as well. And the next part, the last one, more white. And stir it. Oh, you see it's almost the same, so I need to add more white inside this. You do realize that when you want to make a color lighter, you kind of have to put a lot of white inside. As compared to black, you can just use a little bit. But you can see that white is kind of a weak color, so that's why you need to put a lot of it. There, it's much lighter, right? So just put it on the newspaper to dry overnight. Now you want to be careful when you're moving it. If you tilt too much, it's going to move around. So you see it's still moving a lot. So be careful when you're holding it. So take it outside and let it dry under the sun overnight, and it will dry hard like this. Maybe a little bit crumpled, but it's okay. If you have leftover mixture from the ice cream project, you can also do a different pattern on the packaging boxes. Just get any size of card that you have, or a paper also. Like you see here, I have a rectangle. I'm just going to use the crayon to give it a little bit of texture. I tried white color, it didn't turn out nice, so I just changed it to green. Then after that, you can use a spoon, or you can use a satay stick or a chopstick to drip the paint inside. Like over here, I'm doing like a radial star kind of pattern. You can do stripes, and then you can use the satay stick to drag the paint around and give it a different kind of pattern. So have fun experimenting with your leftover mixture.